Community Services Committee meeting to order. And Councilor Soap, would you give the invocation for us, please?
Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, creator of all things, we come to you this morning, Lord. We just thank you for all the many blessings you've given us. Lord, we just thank you for all the many blessings you've given our people, Lord. We just thank you for this time you've given us to come together and think about the things that impact our people, Lord, that affect our people in this community services meeting, Lord. Just be with us as we make decisions, as we talk about the good things that are going on in our communities, Lord, and the things that we need to address. I just pray that you be with those that have illness this morning, Lord. Just be with their families, fill their hearts with joy, and love, and kindness. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you. Kelly, do the roll call, please.
Harley Buzzard.
Here.
Chris Soap.
Here.
Bill England. Jill John Baker.
Here.
Jack Baker.
Here.
Julia Coates. Bradley Cobb.
Here.
Joe Crittenden. Jody Fishinghawk. Here. Meredith Braley. Here. Janelle Fulbright. Here. Ron Garvin. Hannah Glory Jordan. Present. Curtis Snell.
Here.
David Thornton. Carrie Cameron Watts.
Thanks, Kelly. Moving on the agenda, I hear a motion to approve the minutes of the September the 14th regular session meeting.
Second.
And moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Move right on to reports. We've got.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda to include two resolutions for grant applications. One is for Administration on Aging Title VI grant, and another is a nationwide elder care and needs assessment.
Second.
This motion's been made and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. So the one for the administration stuff will be number one, and the elder care will be number two. And I'd also like to hear a motion on the floor for discussion only about the application processes for housing services. Did I hear a motion to put that on the agenda? Motion's been made and second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. That will be number three on the new business. Okay, we're moving right on to the report with Norman Merriman with the Human Services Department. I don't see Norman here. You going to do that, Jared?
I'll cover for her.
All right, thank you.
Or I'll attempt to. Norma couldn't be with us today. She's out of town, and she asked that I stand in for her. And as you do have a copy of her monthly report, I would like to make a correction on that monthly report. Down on 10, it indicates here that we've served 0 participants during the month of August for a total of 808 participants. And actually, that's our crisis assistance program. That we served 808 participants. We served 1,566 clients with our regular heating assistance, and slightly over 1,200 elderly and disabled with our care assistance programs this summer. But that number there represents crisis assistance and not the regular heating assistance program of LIHEAP.
And Jerry, when is has the applications already gone out to the LIHEAP?
No, we'll start taking applications for the elderly and disabled in November.
November, okay.
Probably about the middle of November. We'll attempt to get all of our elderly and disabled in during the last 2 weeks of November, and then the first part of December, we'll open the application process up to all households.
And you automatically send those letters out to the
elderly and disabled. Schedule them in at a specific time and date so we can kind of control how many clients show up in our office at any given time.
Any questions for Jerry? Yes, Councilor Fisher.
It's not a question so much as Jerry. I think this coming month, Joe and I are going to have a community meeting.
Right.
And what we want to do is focusing on the deaths and on them. That's going to be the main theme of the community. So I'm going to be getting with you on that, working with you and Rogan.
Get Rogan. Mm-hmm. I bet you we'll get Rogan hooked up with you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any more questions, Jerry? Okay, thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
Community services, Charlie. So, Charlie, yeah, you're in the room.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Good morning.
Any questions on the government report?
Yeah.
Charlie, I got a question about the community use grant applications. Are those being processed at this time, or?
They're being processed. We've got several. I know Marcia was working late last night while y'all had council meetings. She was signing off and processing those words, so they are being processed. There's a bunch of them that's being processed.
Can we get somebody to update the application online? If you go and look at that application, I believe it still says that they're not taking applications till or after September of 2010.
Okay.
So if we can get that updated, I'd appreciate it.
We do that.
Thank you.
Councilor Baker.
Charlie, in the self-help housing, how many employees do we have that are just temporary employees without benefits and that kind of thing?
Bill John, I'm not really sure right now, but I know most of the, it's on the stimulus project, they're temporary, and we have, most of them are temporary on housing. So as far as numbers, I don't know right off the bat. I can get that information for you.
Some of them have been there, 2 years as temporary employees, I think. And, are they just going to be temporary employees from now on, or?
Unless funding changes. So it takes quite a bit of chunk out of our funds to put them over to permanent status. So, but they're aware of when they come on board that they are temporary.
Okay. So there's really no light at the end of the tunnel for them to be regular full-time employees?
Do what now?
There's no light at the end of the tunnel for them to...
I wouldn't make that commitment to Bill John. So, but like I said, it has a lot to do with funding. So.
Yeah. Thank you.
Councilor Jordan, you have a question.
On the community youth grant application, Charlie, are the meetings, the one meeting that the kids have to go to, is it still all on Saturday?
I think so, because the kids are in school and this and that, so I think that's why they have to put it on, have it on a Saturday.
Would there be any chance that we could schedule some of them early evenings? Because a lot of the activities that the kids are getting the money for is on Saturday.
Okay, we can
So
look at
that has posed a problem for a number of young people to try to complete all of the requirements of that program because they can't make that class.
Right.
So
Okay,
maybe
we can
if
look
we
at
could schedule some early evenings, it's just per hour, isn't it?
Right.
If we could schedule maybe some early evenings,
Okay.
maybe we could get those kids that do their activities on Saturday, like all your little football games are on Saturday, all of your activities with 4-H and FFA, a lot of them, especially the showing, that's all on Saturday. And it really, I've had several people come to me and say, is there any way we could schedule that one meeting
Okay.
in the evenings?
All right.
Could it be possible?
Sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilor Fishman, if you had a question.
Oh, I got some questions. Charlie, I was going to tell you, they come out to my school during the day.
Well, that would be a good idea.
That way they didn't have to work Saturdays, they didn't have to work weekends, they just come out when there's a vacation.
Kids just come
They let them out
out.
of school for an hour. And
Well, that would be an excellent idea. Maybe I should get with you on that, Charlie. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Joey.
Charlie. Well, it works out better for your people.
I know.
I'm always thinking ahead, Charlie.
I know.
Fairfield.
Fairfield's doing well. The road's going in, and so it's moving again. So we're moving along with it.
Okay, and I got a call from somebody that works in the self-help housing, talking about that they was laying people off, or them, the temporary employees that you're talking about. No, it was on the rehab.
You're not letting anybody off.
Okay. I will call them back next. Thank you, Charlie.
Uh-huh.
Okay, any more questions for Charlie? Okay, thanks, Charlie. Next up is Roads and Transportation with Michael Lynn.
Good morning.
Good morning, Michael.
I believe you all have my report in your packet. A couple things I do want to highlight. We did receive in mid-September an additional notice of some additional ARA funding come down through the redistribution program. we had got word that we'd applied for it, or submitted a packet for it, and had heard that we weren't going to be receiving it, and then all of a sudden we got a call that said we were. So we were glad to get that word. It was an additional $2 million. Those funds have been programmed to the Honey Hill project in Adair County, and all our funds have been obligated or are obligated. So anyway, I want to make that known. We held 2 public meetings this past in late September and early October. Our first meeting was a pumpkin hollow meeting on a project that runs mainly in Cherokee County but does cross over into the Adair County line. And we had a lot of opposition at that meeting. What we've done is, since that meeting, we've prepared a letter and also a comment document that just accompanies that letter. And we've gone door to door and placed that on their door. If they weren't home, we're knocked on the door and handed it to them personally if they were home. We've also sent a mail out to them, to each resident on that road, to try to get written feedback, if possible, from the residents along the road. We most of the time we'll have some opposition, but not of this magnitude. It's very major throughout that project. It may be that we need to look at it and reprogram that money to another project on down the list. But that's something that we're going to look at as soon as the responses have come back in. But those responses did go out this week.
What was the biggest opposition that
Giving up land, Mr. Chairman, was the biggest opposition.
I have Councilor Critton has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Michael, was most of that land giving up, with the opposition, whatever, was that mostly in the Cherokee County part of it, or in the Adair County?
We win.
You know, I really don't have a good feel for that.
Oh, okay.
I can tell you the Adair County portion of the project is going to be major landowners own big, large tracts of land. And we honestly felt that before we went to the meeting that we might receive some opposition from folks on that, what I would call the northeastern end of the project, which is up towards Adair County.
Yeah.
When in reality, when we got to the meeting, it was just throughout the entire project. Now, there's some that are strongly for the project, but there's quite a few that are strongly against the project.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Soap, you had a question?
Michael, how long will you wait
Yeah.
until you make a decision on that for reprogramming?
I don't anticipate waiting very long after we receive the word. So
30 days?
30 to 60 days. I mean, what we would have to do is we would have to go look at our priority list, see where the next project falls, and then we would have to come through the council for resolution on that.
Councilor Jordan, you had a question?
Before you reprogram, you will look at the rest of what's in Cherokee County, right?
I'll have to look at our prioritization list.
Didn't you think it was mostly up around the Nichols Reserve?
That's where we felt like it would be. There's quite a few, and going door to door, we're getting even more feedback from folks. We're still continuing. We're taking the feedback verbally. We are asking them to go ahead and fill this out and send it back to us. We thought it was going to be up around there, but it ended up being on back towards Tahlequah too.
Well, honestly, if it is up around Nichols Reserve, I don't really care. But if it's the other folks, maybe we ought to be concerned. Nichols Reserve, that's folks out of our area. So I don't really care what, I guess I shouldn't say this, but I really don't care what they think. They're not going to be coming down there except once a year to look at the elk, I guess.
Yeah.
But the other folks, you had an awful lot of folks. I know the opposition was vocal, but you had an awful lot of folks that was there that wanted to.
Sure, very true.
And I think the only reason that a few of them don't want is they like to give up land on either side of the road. But that's progress.
Right.
They're going to get a good road for what they're giving up, but you're probably going to have to take some of them to court.
Yes.
And I assumed that you had planned some of that.
Yeah, we always typically plan for that. Yeah.
But it appeared to me when it first started, it was all up around. It was the group that runs the Nichols Reserve that first spoke up, and those are all out of towners, which I guess they just like that rustic idea of let's drive the dirt road up to the reserve and look at the elk. Well, that's good, but we've got people that need that road for daily purposes. So don't give up on them yet.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilor Fishing, you had a question? Sorry, Ms. Fulbright.
Thank you. I urge you to give up on them and reprioritize that money, and you won't have this problem in Sequoia County. That's all I want to say. We'd love to have some of that IRR money down there.
Okay.
And you won't get any opposition. Thank you. You won't have to take them to court.
That's good to know.
Our local people want the opposition.
From that meeting that we had a really difficult time at, we held a meeting the next week on the Honey Hill project in Adair County, which has already been through the tough times, if you will, through the right-of-way negotiations and the process. It is actually out for construction. It's set to begin on October 11th, I believe, next week. I've mentioned in here before that project was awarded to APAC. Arkansas, I believe, out of Fayetteville, I think is where they're out of. But anyway, APAC's got that. APAC Central, yes, out of Fayetteville. Those folks were very, very, very excited to have the project. We had a really, really good turnout, kind of close quarters in the room that we were in at the Honey Hill Free Holiness Church. But it was exciting to have that much need or want for the project. So that was encouraging. I wanted to make that known.
I just want to say a few words about the Honey Hill project. There was an older gentleman out there that had really worked on trying to get that road to him. It was Ben Duff. I don't know if the councilor from Adair County know him, but he was really persistent in the road, and I think his wife had mentioned to Michael that she wished Ben could live to see the road. Ben passed away about 3 years ago. But he was real instrumental in getting that road done out there. And Michael, I was just curious about what the estimated bid came on that road.
I'm sorry?
The estimated bid amount, what would you remember that?
Yes, I have that. It was $2,816,779.60.
All right, thank you. Yes, I had a question for Mr.
Mr. Chairman, you brought up the name Ben Duck. I worked with Ben a long time ago with the tribe, and I've known him for 40 years or more. I knew him. And there was a question proposed to me about, I know on the Rock Fence Road, I haven't looked at it lately, but I think there was some in memory of or whatever on that road as far as an individual. And I was asked about the possibility of doing that with the Honey Hill Road. And
I don't see any problem with it. We've done that I think on Killer Mountain Road and then on the Rock Fence Road there too.
Yeah.
It would be up to Michael, and I don't anticipate any problems if he could just make a small sign in memory of Ben Duck or something like that. But I certainly would take it under advisement, Michael and Mr. Friedman, if it's all right with you.
That'd be fine with me. I mean, I don't know if Jody's got any input on it, but I think it'd be great. Yeah, on the Honey Hill? Yeah. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, what I've passed out here is a request that came from the meeting last month that we had here on projects that we've completed within the IRR program throughout the duration of the program. Since these projects, it's two-sided copy. One side is the completed projects, the other side is projects we have in progress. The completed projects are projects that were completed in the mid to late 90s when the program first began, and then the projects that we have in progress. I do have some colors on the list that show the ARA projects that we have going at this time, as well as the completed projects that we have going. I'll be glad to answer any questions there are about this.
Ms. Fulbright.
I have a question here on in progress, Nycut Road South. And it says Adair County. The bridge is the dividing line there. So wouldn't that be in Sequoia County?
Yes, I should have noted that. That's listed both in Sequoia and Adair County because it crosses county line. Just the mileage that you see listed there is the mileage in Adair County, for instance, and also the mileage below you'll see in Sequoia County. So But some roads will be listed twice if they do cross county line.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Is there any more questions, Michael, on that? Mr. Thorne?
This road under design says Moonshine Road
Yes, sir.
for 8.5 miles. Does that cover Moonshine to 64 or
Yes.
82 to 64?
Yes, sir.
And the Redbird Smith Housing Addition, is that IR?
No, sir. That's funded through NAHASDA program.
That's
NAHASDA RA. And yes, thank you for bringing that point out. It is not an IRR project. I listed it on here because it's funded with federal dollars, but it is funded through NAHASDA. Thank you.
And Sequoia total IR would be 12,
I'm sorry.
7?
Sequoia total I see down there is 14.2 miles.
Well, I'm talking about IRR roads.
Okay. Yeah, I guess
And
yes.
the construction on is actually 4.2. I know in my end of the county alone, which is one district out of the 3 districts, there's over 128 miles of roads that's IRR roads. But I haven't checked on them. I haven't checked the school. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Any more questions for Mike? Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Next is the public comment period. I don't see anybody in the audience for public comments on the road, so we'll move on to housing services with David Sutherland.
Morning.
Good morning.
Just a couple of things. One disclosure. Gayla Robinson, niece of one of my employees, Sandra Bendabout, is going to get a low rent apartment. And we have rescheduled the board meeting for this Friday, the 15th at noon at Housing Authority conference room. Had to reschedule that due to get a quorum. That's really all I had to report this morning. If anybody have any questions.
No, the other question for the next person. Any questions for David? Yes, Ms. Watson.
Next month, I'd just like follow up on that state recognized tribe being included on that.
I haven't had time to. Where did you see that at?
It's on the form.
If we could discuss that in new business, it's on the agenda item that was amended, Karen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Councilor Thorne, we have one more question for you, David.
David, that questionnaire that's 10 or 12 pages long.
Mr. Thorne, we're going to discuss that under new business. We've got that coming up. If you could just hang on to that just a minute, we'll bring David back up.
Okay.
Okay, Commerce Housing Report with Anna. I see Shay here.
Good morning. Miss Knight is on her way, but I'll fill in until she gets here. You should have a copy of the report, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to address them.
Yes, Ms. Watts.
Thank you. Have you been getting I've been having emails trouble. Have you guys been getting the emails where we've been having communication problems with some follow-up on the clients?
No.
Okay.
No, that's
We're having
news to me.
issues.
Okay.
And I wondered why I hadn't got a response, which is now coming to figure out email.
Okay.
Clients aren't being followed up with, and I don't know why.
After they've applied, or at what point?
After they've applied.
Okay.
On small business stuff, so we'll have to.
Oh, okay, small business.
Yeah.
Okay. If you don't mind, I'll get with you after the meeting
Okay,
then.
very good.
Thank you. That.
Shay, I do have a question. I think it would probably go to you. It's on the MAP program.
Mm-hmm.
I see that we're retooling the processes of how some of that works as far as credit rating for people that apply for MAP. Are you familiar with that, or should I?
We haven't made any additional changes other than we have recently stated that our policy has changed to go from 2% above market rate would be an acceptable rate. That's what we used to have. We've gone to 1%. We've done an analysis of all of the people who have received mortgage assistance since May 2008, and reducing that by 1% is going to affect a very, very small portion of them.
And the other thing that I did see was the credit score rating for people that have got on the MAP program, and it had to do with foreclosures, because I don't think we were checking this credit score of some of the applicants that were getting approved through the banks, and the banks were more or less lending money to people that couldn't pay it back. And I've seen this in the poultry market, because I've watched that, and some of the banks were guaranteed the 100% guarantee loan through Farm Services Credit Association, and those banks were lending people that could not actually pay for those things. And I see that as the same related question as to the MAP program.
Yes, and I'm sorry, you're right. When Commerce started operating the mortgage assistance program in May of 2008, that is one of the steps that was implemented to ensure that we're providing mortgage assistance to families who can really afford the mortgages that they're taking out, because in the past, about 2.5 years ago is when we started seeing foreclosure, all the foreclosures hitting, but in the previous 3 years, banks really stopped, in essence, they basically stopped underwriting loans. I mean, if I came in and said I make $75,000 a year or I make $100,000 a year, they never checked my income. They would just say, okay, she said she makes 75 or 100, she should be able to afford this. And so when Commerce took over the mortgage assistance program, that is one of the steps that we implemented, was reviewing every single mortgage loan that comes in, reviewing not only the rates and terms of the loan, but the individual's other debt obligations, to make sure that not only can they qualify for the loan, but can they really afford it. And so that is one of the measures that have been put into place to hopefully reduce the mortgage assistance program foreclosure rate.
And then I guess my next question is, when do you think the results, you'll be able to see any results from that?
Well, I'd say we're already seeing results, first of all. Right now, since May 2008, if you look at the foreclosure rate for people who received mortgage assistance after May 2008, foreclosure rate is 1.2%.
That's it.
Okay, and typically if someone's going to be foreclosed on, most foreclosures happen within the first 2 to 3 years of home ownership. So within the next year, we should really have a good idea about the kind of impact this analysis is making.
Okay, and I'm glad to see that happening, because and you're right, some of these banks, they did not check, they just lend the money out and that was it, and then people get in trouble after the first year or so, and you see the foreclosures on it. So it's a good program. I think I'm glad to see it implemented here. Yes, Miss Credit.
Thanks for sending Miss Hicks up to Locust Grove. She did a wonderful job. I've received real good feedback from the citizens who attended the meeting there at my store.
Good.
So if you'll pass it on,
Sure.
I appreciate it.
Yes.
Any more questions for me? Okay. Thank you, Senator. Moving on the agenda was old business. I see none. And moving on to new business, we have a resolution for.
I make a motion that we approve the resolution for the grant on the Administration on Aging Title VI grant.
Second.
And the motion's been made and second. Any discussion on the? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Moving on to number 2. Do I hear a motion on the floor to approve this resolution?
I make a motion we approve the resolution participating in the nationwide elder needs assessment.
A motion's been made and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. And now I want to move on down to the agenda, and David, I suppose we need you to come back up, and I had a comment from Councilor Watts first and Mr. Thornton second here, so we'll move on to what it is with the application on the Emergency Housing Services Program. I think everybody on the committee has a copy of that, so I'm just going to open it up for questions, and this is no action to be taken on it, but I think we just want to have some discussion about what's on the application and the length of it, and in fact, with David, I know that a lot of this stuff is required through federal policy. So, David, We're just going to open up for questions here, and the first question from Ms. Watts.
Thank you. I understand that there may be some, quote, state-recognized tribes that are grandfathered into HUD. However, since we've reorganized our housing authority and self-determined that money, why do we even have to honor those?
The only thing I can think of is we've got that wording straight out of Nahasda. There was 5 state tribes that were grandfathered in. When the law changed in 98, Nahasda went into effect, there were 5 state tribes that were allowed to be recognized and continue to get federal funding. Now, whether we have to give them preference, our preference is we give preference to Cherokee. And then any other federally recognized tribe really didn't know that said state. Now, and I'm not sure that we have to treat those 5 recognized tribes the same as the federally recognized tribes. But I'll check into that, and if it's like I think it is, we'll take that state portion off of that.
I don't know why we can't take it off regardless. Wouldn't want to encourage, we've got so many fake state recognized Cherokee. I just don't understand why we even have that language anywhere.
I'm not sure. I'm glad you brought it to my attention because I didn't know it was on there. But when we're just generally talking about, we give preference to Cherokees, but we do take applications because it is Nahasda on other federally recognized tribes. I'm not sure how the state port got on there and if it even should be in there.
Okay, I would appreciate an update at next month's meeting and what your findings are,
Okay.
because this helps us when we do consultations and other things on the other issues we battle with these groups. So, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And I have a question for that, Mr. Thorne, before I get to you. But in the state of Oklahoma, David, do we have some state-recognized tribes here in Oklahoma that reside here?
I'm not aware of
People
any.
that claim, may I?
Sure. Go ahead, Scott.
There's people that claim. I think that potentially there's those smaller creek tribes, and I shouldn't even refer to them as creek. They've been, merged into the Creek Nation, but they're separate tribal nations. I don't know that they're, somehow acknowledged differently, and I think Delaware's may have been in that boat at some point. But I think we're very clear, those people are considered Indian by the BIA definition. What I think that goes to is potentially if one of these Arkansas or Missouri folks come over with a card, I would hate that because we have those words on that brochure or anywhere near that they could then argue and try to sue or potentially some litigation or something else and tie up our resources because we have this language in there. Does that answer your question maybe
Sure.
more? Okay.
And Mr. Sullivan, if you'll get back there and report next
I will.
month.
I'll try to get this cleared up before the next meeting and email everyone.
Okay. And Councilor Thornton had a question, comment about the application.
My question on the application, it's not a page, it's back here, it says Cherokee Rehab Program, Income, Assets, and Questionnaire. Is this a federal questionnaire here?
It's
Does this come from the federal government?
when we on the Nahasda program, we have to determine an income. We have to verify income. That's part of the regulation. And to do that, we use what's called the Section 8 definition of income. There's like 3 choices. It's Section 8, income tax, and then one other, I can't remember what it was. But we chose Section 8 because it's the only one that really works the best for what we do. And part of that is you verify like if you're employed, you verify with the employer. That's an easy way to go. If you're self-employed, we do use your tax return, and then we project that out for the next year. But on the assets, I can't remember exactly what our policy is. If it's anything over $5,000 or $10,000, I don't remember exactly which. The way we do that is, if say you had $100,000 in assets, we use that form to document it, and then there's a formula that we use to project how much of that is considered income. And that's That's a part of that Section 8 definition of income. You have assets, they're worth so much projected income. I think it's like 3-point-something%. So $100,000, you'd project 3 point whatever percent it is.
But my problem is, and the calls that I've got are from people that are low income, they're making anywhere from $600 to $900 a month. And these are the things they don't, checking accounts, saving accounts, money market funds, individual retirement accounts, stocks, bonds, certificates of deposit, rental property, which personal property, other accounts, cash that they may have in the safe deposit box, inheritance, lottery winnings, insurance, they check balancing, savings balancing, certificates, social security numbers, IRA balances. These people, it makes them mad now. I will tell you, when I get calls from them, they eat me out about this application. They say, I'm going to fill this 12-page application out, and they said, some of that's not any of the business, and what they're wanting is probably a $800 or $900 job done in their house.
Mm-hmm.
And it utterly seems ridiculous to them, and the way they talk to me, it kind of seems ridiculous.
I understand what you're saying.
What I try to tell them is that isn't our policy. So I want to know for sure, is this our policy or is this the federal government policy?
It is both, because the federal government requires that we determine income, and we have an income limit. We have to take all that into account. So federal government says you need to determine income, this is how you do it.
Okay. Can you determine the income and leave some of this out? For someone that's low income. That's what happened the last 2 years. Living in the Indian home.
There's really no way to, if we do it to some, we got to do it to all. They just have to mark 0 if they don't have that. Like I said, there's a certain level. Most folks have a small checking account, might have a little bit in savings, usually doesn't add up to where it even counts. But there are some, in some cases, where somebody has 150 acres with a $100,000 barn on it.
Well, can you put in a verification on the count of what counts, what doesn't count? If you make over so much money a year, or you have so much in your checking account, do you have a stopping point of whether you can do this or not? Give them rehab or not?
Say that again.
Can't you put that in this? Since you got this big of a application, couldn't you put that in this application, or is it in here? Is it a low income? If you make more than this, well, then you don't qualify.
Yeah, I think that there's an income limit attached to it. Used to be, there may not
if
be
you got
anymore.
so much in the bank, then you don't qualify. You got so much savings, then you don't qualify.
Well, that's hard to do.
You put that on the front page, and they can check that off and go on. Whether qualified or not.
I know we'd like to simplify it. Those applications, I know Shay was involved, and Anna, and some other departments to come up with the minimum amount of application that we could come up with.
Well, I sure hate to tell people that this is Cherokee Nation application.
I'll look at it to see if there's any other way. I don't know that there is, but I'll let you know what I find.
I appreciate it, Dan. Okay. Thank you.
Councilor Baker.
Anna says it's all you.
Anna always says that if it's a...
Hey, we still we think they're too complicated, but David convinced us that everything in there needs to be in there.
Thanks, Anna.
Yeah, follow up.
No.
Ms. Fulbright, you had a question or comment?
I have a question. When we go out and rehab a home and get it all fixed up, do we require that they buy some type of house insurance?
We do. That's part of the agreement. They're counseled on that up front, that
Okay.
they have to do that. That's a federal regulation also.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. Because there's,
Well, I have complaints, they don't want to do it, but
that drives the Community Shield program. That's one of the reasons we set
that's
that
what
up.
I tell them about. Okay, thank you.
And David, follow up real quick on that. Are they also counseled or at least given the information about Community Shield or Amaran at that time? They are, so they know that.
The rehab folks are well schooled and
They do that. I just had a comment about the application processes, and I wish there was a way to get the applications standardized for each program. Now, and the reason I'm saying that, I'm sure that Jerry Snell's program on elderly assistance probably isn't as thick as this one is here. And I'm not just sure, I haven't seen his application, but I would like to take a look at that, Mr. Snell, and see what it looks like. But it looks to me like for running federal programs, we could be pretty much standardized, or not, David. I don't know that.
I don't know a whole lot other about Jerry stuff. I do know that HUD is the most overbearing group, department of the federal government. Just ask the procurement people. They got $600 million budget, and the most complicated thing is this $30 million NAHAS deal. And it's the same way with the files. We always get complimented on our rehab files when HUD comes down and assesses, because everything's there. And, but that's why we have the big long application, is they just pick it apart.
And essentially, I just want to ditto what Councilor Thornton was saying, because I get calls from people like that too. And I think the number one thing on there is they hate to give their bank account numbers out on these forms. And I realize, I know things that goes on with those bank account numbers, but I haven't had a report of any misuse of them since we've been getting them. So
I can remember a few years ago where we had done a rehab, and after the rehab was completed, then it was, how come y'all are doing that rehab when they got that $180,000 motorhome out there in that garage? And I think we probably got a little more on top of things at that point. That's been a few years ago, but I'll check to see if we can uncomplicate it a little.
And one other thing that I want to bring up too, David, and I had a constituent that had asked me this, is a year ago they had some work done on their property, and apparently an environmental was done, and they requested some assistance again a year later, and another environmental was done again. And the question was, well, why do we have to do another environmental a year later? And I said, well, I don't know, not unless it's a new application, you have to redo it over. So
they do have to update those periodically. I don't know what the time frame is, but to be safe, we always get them to update it, and they do that. And of course, part of the environmental now, or it has been, was the lead-based paint. And if we're using the HOSDA funds, and if it's something different, then we're going to be doing another lead-based paint test also.
Okay. One other question. Now, do we have any travel funds in the emergency fund?
We do. We have like $285,000 of emergency. We try. It's not a lot, so we try to be picky. If you're out of water heater bus, air conditioning's out, heater's out, try to prioritize it.
Okay. Any more questions for David? Well, David, see what you can do, and if you can cut it down some, I'm sure it would be appreciated by the constituents too. But I realize you have a policy that you've got to follow through. Oh, one more question, Ms.
No, I don't have. I just want to thank you for what a good job you do and always answer our questions. And
You're welcome.
I really appreciate you.
You bet. Thank you.
Yeah, David, we appreciate you. Yeah, I think that's it. Are there any announcements that people want to bring forward at this time? If not, do I hear a motion for adjournment?
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you.